Welcome back to New Persuasive Words. I'm Scott Jones.
I'm Bill Bohr. Welcome to the age of Aquarius, right? Everything is the moons have aligned and yeah, it's all good. And I noticed I have to, why I'm thinking about the moon in the seventh house and Jupiter aligning with Mars, or at least us claiming Mars as a territory. I notice you seem to have many shirts on.
I have two shirts on today, and this is an homage to the moral voice of the administration, Steve Bannon. Not officially in the administration, but a guy who found religion in a Connecticut prison and I actually listened to a little bit of his podcast today called The War Room. He is not thrilled with Elon Musk and the oligarchy that's emerging. He thinks these guys are problematic. He's saying that hey. He is saying that. By the way, he also said that he was talking to Dave Bratt, who's a Princeton seminary grad, and he was explaining how the world's not perfect and we live in a fallen world in Genesis 3. And he said,
he had to explain that to Bannon.
Yeah. Well, no, Bannon was saying that, and he said, "Look, I'm not trying to get real complicated. I'm a Catholic. This is what the nuns taught me." And Brett said, "You're doing pretty good." And he said, "Wow, from a guy at Liberty Baptist down in Lynchburg, that's impressive. You're saying a Mick Catholic like me knows something?" He said, "Well, I got something called Abraham Kuyper and sphere sovereignty, and you're doing just right in your sphere." So there you go. So Bannon is upset. Bannon thinks that, although his take is that really these oligarchs and sitting them all together is sort of like the Japanese Imperial Navy brass on, I guess, the USS Missouri, right? And Trump's MacArthur, and lining them all up, right? Sitting them all together is Trump's MacArthur-esque move, is sort of accepting the surrender of these folks who vociferously opposed him. Right. And now they have to sit together, and Mark Zuckerberg gets to oogle Bezos' girlfriend and all this stuff. This is all staged by Trump, according to Bannon, for political theater, to take his enemies, whom he has punished. Bannon sees Musk as an early adopter, right? Like, hey, if you can't beat him, join him. And Zuckerberg and all these, the taking off of the fact checking, all this stuff, it's just the full recognition, the funding of the balls and all this stuff. This is the full recognition that the oligarch technorati crowd has now been browbeaten into submission by the leader, and the voice of Clarity, who's not a fan of Catholic Charities either. Boy, he had some words for the Catholic Charities on the show today. Although he did not fault good Catholics that come over looking for jobs, but because they're basically invited by the corporations and the government to cross illegally. But so these two shirts today, Bill, are an homage to what passes for moral clarity today. Steve Bannon.
Yeah, here we are. Is the next thing? Do the oligarchs get invited to the red wedding? Is that the next?
Yeah, that's it. That's later this week.
Very nice, very nice. That's for those of you who are not Game of Thrones followers. That's one of the more disturbing episodes of recent memory.
Terrible, tragic.
Terrible, tragic.
An end to a great love story.
A great love story. Tragic. And you have to wait to what season does she get her revenge? When she comes back and it has, oh gosh, remember what's the youngest daughter's name?
Oh, Arya.
She gets her revenge.
Right. Yeah. Now in the books, Lady Stark lives and she becomes like a zombie.
Right. Yeah.
Which many of us may turn into zombies. Who knows? Now we're in a golden age. This has been declared. Yes. Bill, this has been declared. The golden age has happened. I would just want to point something out. This is not partisan. This is just an observation. The war in Ukraine is still going on. Now, he did say he could end it right. He could, day one, it would be over.
Well, he was too busy, you know, punishing children. So yeah, you gotta punish the children first, and also release murderers from jail.
You have
Yeah,
to pace yourself. You have to
you had to
pace
page.
yourself.
So you got to pick on children and then let cop killers go free. Racist cop killers. That's even racist, anti-Semitic cop killers. So the best of all worlds.
Speaking of anti-Semites, the gesticulation of the hand with Elon Musk at the rally.
Yeah, if it smells like a Nazi and Zeke Heil's like a Nazi,
I've never smelled a Nazi in my life.
well, I don't recommend it, but anyway, but that looked like a Nazi to me.
I mean, if it's not so, all right. Some people are saying he's just wound up and excited, and my thing is okay. If this is the subconscious, if this is what he does, excited at a rally, I hate to see what happens to this guy in the bedroom. I mean, if this is your
why you do that? Why do you?
If this is a subliminal sign of excitement, you uncontrollably gesticulate and do a Zeke Heil. That's interesting. That's just your kind of first instinct when if that's your happy dance. That's unusual.
It is, yeah.
But I heard a Jewish guy today saying it was not anti-Semitic. It was not.
Oh,
yeah.
There we go. There we are.
Just him telling the crowd that he loves them.
Yeah, there we go. There we are. Yep.
What's your love language? Nazism.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need Gary Smalls needs to add, or Chapman, I guess his name is. He needs to add a sixth love language, anti-Semitism, to the book.
Yeah, it really, the fact is, this has gone full blown Orwellian when they're calling yesterday Liberation Day. Yeah, it's really fascinating. Yeah.
What is your love language? Words of affirmation and anti-Semitism.
Buying little gifts and anti-Semitism.
Exactly. Whereas acts of service and anti-Semitism. It really works with anything.
Cooking my love's favorite meal and anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism. It fits really nicely. It complements. It's
getting the love you want by Eva Braun.
Exactly. Well,
by the way, can I just say, like, all right, there have been times where you've even chided me on going too soon with the Nazi references over the last couple of years, and you probably were right, but you can take that back right now if you want to.
Well,
did you see Hillary Clinton laughing during the speech about he was going to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America? By the way, DeSantis, another profile in courage, is already referring to it as the Gulf of America.
I have a question. How does that get done? Like, if you were to do this, if you are to rename the Gulf, how does that happen? And where do I buy my stock in Rand McNally?
Well, right. Like, it's kind of like when NFL teams. All right. So I still call them the San Diego Chargers. I'm almost done with that yet. But at what point do you stop calling the Gulf of Mexico so is there a franchise thing going on, or could you just do like he did remember the weather map where he just started drawing? He drew the hurricane. He just superimposed his pen on the telescope, right? Like on football team, we could even right now, I could just go here. We're going to rewrite it. That's
but who names stuff? I mean, like, if you wanted to make the Pacific Ocean Trump Ocean, how would you do that?
Well, I guess you could call it whatever you wanted to. It's just whether or not everyone else participates in
it. You just wait for it to catch on. I mean, what? I mean, so you just say, I guess you could say via executive order, executive action, look, CIA, when you're giving a briefing, you can't say that the Taliban is coming up through the Gulf of Mexico. It's the Gulf of America. Like,
Right.
could you just make sure that everybody in
You just can't use certain words. Like in Florida, they're not allowing you to use certain words. So maybe just tell people you can't call it the Gulf of Mexico anymore.
banning words in Florida like library?
Like library. Yeah. And
Remember when the scariest thing in America was drag queen story hour? It's the good old days.
yeah. Let's talk briefly, just since we both are constitutional lawyers.
Yeah, let's put that hat on with my 2 shirts.
You got
Let me put my 3rd shirt on.
you put a 3rd shirt on, we could do brain surgery as well. But so using the US military for domestic purposes, is there potentially a problem for that?
Posse comitatus is the Latin term, right? That you're not allowed to use the military to police the citizenry. So I guess but can you put them on the border if they just face away? Right? I mean, couldn't they?
You could yeah. Well, there's been a false.
But once you get past them, they can't turn around.
Well, there's been a false national emergency declared. He did that before. So I guess you've got, again, we've talked about the problem of the broad powers that the executive has just sucked up. So yeah. We could faking a border crisis as a pretext to misuse the military. I'm trying to
But
think.
there is, I mean, look, there are a lot of people coming over the border.
But it's,
I mean, that is, and perception is real.
What's the numbers? I heard they were down. Numbers are down.
Numbers are down, but I'm just saying that numbers have been up for a long time. I mean, people have anxiety about it. I mean, people have, I also think with the Democrats, I think most people are not really scared that the undocumented person is going to commit all kinds of crimes against them or their family, because we know, I mean, studies show that they have a lower crime rate than the native born population. But it is interesting. I think there's a fairness thing. I think people hey, look, everybody needs to play by the rules. And
except the president of the United States.
Except the president of the United States. And I think that something about the immigration issue and the border, and look, elections aren't about different answers to the same question. Right?
No,
answers to it's about the question, right? So Democrats never win if national defense is the question. Republicans win because Republicans are seen as the daddy and Democrats the mommy. And so when you want things like,
but they elected somebody who's pretty anti-military.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Right. It does not matter. It doesn't matter.
The facts, that's right. The facts don't matter.
It just doesn't matter. Democrats don't win elections when they're about national security, right? Democrats don't win elections when it's about immigration, right? Like right now, I mean, the Democratic Party of today. If it was about healthcare or inclusion or poverty, Republicans wouldn't win that election. If that's what people were concerned, or the environment, Republicans wouldn't win that election.
So,
right?
But you're actually, if elections were more about reality,
who wants to live in that world?
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing. It's people vote. I mean, and the same thing with I was thinking about this a lot yesterday with Biden. And look, I'm sure that the spending Biden did in the Inflation Reduction Act, which, by the way, is the worst thing. Leave it to Democrats to name something. Like, I mean, these things are just so terrible, right? But sure, I'm sure it did contribute to inflation, but it helped stop a recession. So which is worse? I mean, if you have prices a little higher, but still have a stronger economy, or keep prices down and have deflation, cradle the economy. Oh gosh, look how cheap bread is. I just don't have any money to buy it. I mean, it'd just be an interesting conversation had Biden done nothing. And
right.
we went into a recession, which everyone was predicting, right? And we're not in one, right? We're not in the thing that was predicted, that the prophets of doom were predicting. We're not in that. It's just interesting. Nobody says, well, part of the cost of doing business was in inflationary prices, which, we chose that over a recession and cratering the economy, which
Right,
could possibly crater the economy.
Which is, if anybody knows anything about economics, which I know very little about, that's
That's me neither.
That's something you kind of know. You sometimes have to make that choice. Well, if Trump doesn't do anything, then the economy is going to improve in 2025. That's what all the projections are, the employment rate. Now, the trouble is the tariffs, or if he does.
It's the most beautiful word in the English language. I can think of a lot of words that are beautiful. I mean, I'm shocked Shakespeare never wrote a sonnet with tariff in it.
Well, when you start looking to your role models as William McKinley and Grover Cleveland, we're in a different age here, right here, man. That's for sure.
Thank God I didn't go to either of those middle schools.
Well, hey, did we ever? I forgot to look up Warren G. Harding. Did anyone comment where Warren G. Harding High School is?
Any of our listeners?
Is that Fast Time? Is that? No, that's Ridgemont High. There's got to be Warren G. Harding High School. I should have looked it up. I'm not going to waste our time, but I apologize for that. No, so I want to shift though a little bit because I've been thinking about this because last night.
Bill, there's a Warren G. Harding Middle School 7.7 miles away from me.
Really? Where?
I don't know. Warren G. Harding. Well, okay, Warren G. Harding High School is in Warren, Ohio.
Warren, Ohio. Okay.
But there was a Warren G. Harding Middle School.
Right near you?
In Wakeling. Wakeling.
I don't even. Wakeling. Where is it? I don't even know where that is.
Wakeling Street, 2000 Wakeling Street. So I guess this is in Frankfurt.
Well, there we go.
Oh, all right. I wouldn't think that it would be in the city limits, but there it is.
Warren G. Harding High School. There we go.
What did we do before the internet?
We read books. We thought for ourselves.
Yeah.
Anyway, other than that, but there we go. All right. Thank you. What would be the fighting? What the fighting philanderers?
I don't know. Exactly. I don't know. I was thinking that's the first thing I was thinking too.
The Warren G. Harding. Yeah. But another guy who, can thank, he moved up a level of Dante's hell thanks to Trump. In terms of
yeah, you just see like the demons going, all right, pack up, you're moving up.
You're moving up.
Fourth rung.
Yep. Right.
You're going to the fourth rung.
Yep. And Nixon's going, how about me? Never. You just stay where you're at. But yeah. So, one of the things you and I've talked a little bit about that we actually feel like we want during the next 4 years or whatever, we want to kind of be a voice of a perspective during what possibly could happen, what is happening. I think if you're not disturbed about what he did yesterday, then I don't really. I just think you're in extreme denial. If you're a good person, you're in extreme denial about some of the acts that were done yesterday. And I'm not speaking. I'm as frustrated. I'm very frustrated with the Democratic Party. I'm sorry there is no longer a Republican Party. I wish there was the functioning two-party system, but I think there's also what are positive and redemptive things that we can do during potentially, maybe he peaked at his darkness yesterday, but I don't think so. So,
you can go on a mission trip to Canada.
Mission trip to Canada, yeah, and stockpile your tequila between the next, the next couple of weeks. But so no, but I think one of the things that was interesting to me, we had the Interfaith Martin Luther King service last night, and I have to admit, I usually find those kind of services just leave me generally feeling like, why did we do this? It didn't feel like it feels like maybe we're holding on to something that we did right. We've turned Martin Luther King into kind of an icon, and that way you can kind of control icons. and the interfaith services can often be coming around at least common denominator. And a group of us got together before last night to plan this, and I got asked to be part of it. I said, can we do a Martin Luther King service that actually, let's listen to some words that are relevant, still relevant from Dr. King. Can we focus on the idea that there's a faith response to critical issues, that King tried to do the impossible, and that he tried not to sacrifice either justice or peace, which I think is a very gospel kind of thing, regardless, you can debate where King was theologically, but the idea of trying to seek both justice and peace is a remarkable Jesus thing to do. And so, it was interesting to me last night. We listened to we had two people read long extensions of Dr. King's the letter from Birmingham, and also then the sermon he gave in 1965 at the Hollywood Synagogue. And we also did some biblically based songs that emphasize justice and mercy. And one of the things that we had one of the largest turnouts we ever had, and it was, there was the inauguration, and there was the college football championship, and it was extremely cold and nasty up here in a holiday weekend. But I've had a half a dozen people, some last night and some come up to me today and say to me that coming together gave them hope, and that and so what maybe we could flesh out part of what was hope giving about last night. But what's it mean to be voices of hope? If you're not on the triumphant side of this, if you're not thinking this is the second coming of Jesus, the golden age, but you think this is at best horrendous, and at worst foreshadowing more atrocities to come, where is the word of hope today?
Well, it's at least the Bronze Age. If it's not a golden age, it might be taking us to the Bronze Age, Bill. I mean, that's really,
yeah.
Well, it's one thing I was rereading recently was Brian Gerish's wonderful book called Saving in Secular Faith, which is, the subtitle is An Invitation to Systematic Theology. And it's not a long book. I mean, it's very slender volume, but he does some interesting work about biblical faith and Luther and Calvin and Aquinas, and this is his summary of what the gospel means. He says, what Christians do then in believing the gospel is to construe the story of Christ as a surprising, even paradoxical disclosure of a divine benevolence that resembles parental care. The recognition of God's parental will in Jesus Christ then enables them to turn to the entire range of their experience and construe it too, as in every moment the work of a parent-like goodwill, so that even the negative experiences of suffering and adversity now make sense as discipline, not punishment. In short, saving faith is both perceiving one's experience under the image of divine benevolence, fides, and a consequence of living one's life out of an attitude of confidence or trust, fiducia. So this idea that when you experience the kind of faith Garish is describing, that you have this sense that God is not against you,
right,
and that your experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, are part of a tapestry that's being woven together into something ultimately good and beautiful. And then also that from that position, that you're able to turn to the world with a kind of confidence, right? With a kind of determination, with a kind of freedom. This is, Troeltsch's critique of the Weber thesis about Protestantism and the spirit of capitalism. I mean, this productivity that creates the modern world, which Weber attributes in some ways to Protestantism. Weber thinks it's out of anxiety, right? That you're trying to prove that you're elect, and so you want to prove that your elect should be that should be blessed. So if you're productive, you must be. That's a sign of election. And Trout says, no. That this sort of relationship Garris is talking about with the divine the divine parental approval, that it shoots you into the world with a confidence that you act on the theater of God's glory. That actually the world's, what does Shakespeare say? All the world's a stage, and you could contribute a verse. And so I don't know, that gives me a little hope today. I was running around doing some errands, feeling sick. I have a cold because people in the subway are disgusting, and they sneeze and they cough and they hack. And I saw lots of work for that guy on the subway, the guy in New York who did the choker. I thought there's like 6 people he could restrain here. But I was sick, but I don't know. I was listening to some music, and I had the sense that okay, this is these words resonated. And I think, look, the world, we will get through the next 4 days, 4 weeks, 4 years. There'll be many more Nazi salutes.
or some of us may not get through it. But
yeah, right, yeah. That's true.
But I think it was interesting. I vetoed "We Shall Overcome" being sung last night, just because one. I can remember from our days back in Philadelphia Presbytery, I used to dread the African American History Month Presbytery meeting because you have mostly a bunch of white liberal people from the suburbs. It would be once a year we'd go into an urban church, and then we'd all lock arms and sing that song and feel like we'd done something.
Clap on the 1 and the 3.
Oh my gosh! But at any rate, but we replaced one of the songs we sang last night was a version of Gary Rand, he was a really interesting, great music. I still think he's making music, but Isaiah 58. And for me, the hope is to double down on back to the heart of our faith. And that was last night. One of the things I said, this is not about a least common denominator kind of religiosity and spirituality, but it's about what does it mean for us to be the people of God? What does it mean for us to be part of the covenant community? What does God require of us? And Isaiah 58 is where the song came from, and this was 3rd Isaiah, and here, this is his response to, I think, critical response to the Haggai's Zechariah program, that we need to make Israel great again by getting a strong man, getting a Davidic king back, and rebuilding the temple bigger and better. And this is Isaiah's 58's response to what's happening at the center of power in the post-exilic age. Such a fast that I choose is a day for a person to humble himself. It is to bow down his head like a reed and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him. Will you call this a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this the fast that I choose? To loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the straps of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover him, and not to hide yourself from your own flesh. Then shall your light break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up speedily. Your righteousness shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call to the Lord, and he will answer. You shall cry, and he will say, Here I am. If you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger and speaking wickedness, if you pour yourself out for the hungry and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then shall your light rise in the darkness, and your gloom be as the noonday, and the Lord will guide you continually, and satisfy your desire in scorched places, and make your bones strong, and you will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring of water, whose waters do not fail.
I mean, what do we do with the fact that the majority of people who showed up to vote think that's coming true now? I have some friends who were at the inauguration, and this is, that I mean, their framing of this, right, would be that an incompetent, overgrown government which is captive to ideologies that are not what most they're not ideologies that most Americans resonate with or are good for most Americans. That government has been chastened, there's been a sort of like jury nullification, right? The voters have spoken and moved aside a group. I mean, there are people that I know them on social media and that are just thrilled and think that this is
No,
really
well, it doesn't surprise me. No, you can see a lot of black and white films of cheering crowd and swooning women and saying this is we're going to be great again. And no, the fact that the majority are okay with releasing the killers of policemen, people whose ideology is about hate and anti-Semitism, that they're okay with making America great on the heads of vulnerable children. Well, that shows you who your God is. It was a good day. It was a good day for the devil yesterday.
Come on, don't
It was a good
hold
day.
back. Tell them.
It was good. The third temptation, what Jesus said no to. 50.4% of America said yes to.
But don't you think? I mean, aren't a huge swath of those people doing it for religious reasons, thinking that actually,
absolutely,
that on abortion, on
absolutely. Well, now you know it's interesting.
Sexual revolution stuff.
I think that's I actually don't. I think that certainly gives them cover, right? And again, I'm not saying that the left is morally sound on those issues at all. I think that when as a Democratic Party, if the moral center of your argument is for abortion on demand, now you can call it women's rights, and again, I understand that, but I'm not sure that should be your moral center either. So I'm not arguing for the moral rectitude of Joe Biden's Democratic Party. I'm just saying that this is just what he did. This is what they did, and this is what they applauded, and this is what was promised. So you can't say you're voting for morality when the person won't even put his hand on the Bible for the oath of office. I don't think that was accidental.
That's interesting. We got a lot of hands. Since we got a hand not on the Bible, and we've got a hand up in a Nazi salute.
I think, yep. I think they're just being. There's no surprises. This is who he said he is. This is who he said he is. So they voted for this. They want this. And so may God have mercy on their souls.
And may God have mercy on us all.
Amen.